Hi there, I'm Bill Patterson. Thanks so much for turning on this film. I just wanted to say that I have come from humble roots. I'm from Abbeyview in Dunfermline. I went to Woodmill High School. I worked in the dockyard at Scythe when the dockyard was still there. And I left that to become a hairdresser because I was bored. Worked as a hairdresser for a number of years, travelled to Chicago, Houston, New York, San Francisco, cut hair, and then I left that because I was bored and cycled around France. Got all my stuff nicked. Came back after a few months and then decided to join the Marines, which didn't work out. I ended up with terrible injuries in my hips and came out. And then I decided to run pubs in Leith. And then I went to university, got myself a PhD, and I was chefing when I was doing that. So I've got quite a lot of experience of being in kitchens. And then I lectured in universities across Scotland on philosophy and politics, history. And I really enjoyed that. But eventually I left there and started to work in mental health. So I've been working in mental health since about 2016, where I worked for an organisation called FEED, Fife Employment Access Trust. And there I was teaching low intensity cognitive behavioural therapy and employability for people that were suffering with anxiety and depression. This encouraged me to kind of continue with my mindfulness journey, which I'd started about 2010. And I decided to learn mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. So I did that with Ness. And when I was working for FEET, I worked all over Fife, working with people with anxiety and depression, teaching them mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. I was then seconded to CAMS, the Children and Adolescent Mental Health Service, and I helped young people who were in remission kind of find skills that they could use to look after themselves when they left CAMS. I was also responsible for putting together the mindfulness part of Our Minds Matter, which was a Fife-wide project for Fife education. So I managed that when I was at FEET and taught on it, set it up. And then I left because there were so many opportunities for me. At that time I was working with paramedics, I was working with the police, and then I went on to work with NHS Fife. So I set up Be Mindful Fife. And Be Mindful Fife taught mindfulness and compassion to organisations across Fife. And that was really successful. And then, so that was really about nearly 13 years I've been practicing mindfulness and compassion. And while I was doing that, I kind of realised that a lot of people wanted one-to-one. They found it intimidating to be in a group. We'd rather speak to me one-to-one. So I started to see people one-to-one. And when I was doing that, I realised that people were actually looking for a counsellor. But what they saw in me was that real presence comes with mindfulness and that sense of compassion to really kind of feel someone else's pain and to kind of be with them in that pain so they can find and explore what it is they need to find it alleviation from that pain. So I did a diploma in counselling and psychotherapy with Persona, which I really enjoyed. It was fascinating. So now I offer counselling as well as teaching mindfulness and compassion. During COVID, a lot of people spoke to me about being overwhelmed and kind of burnout and compassion fatigue. And what was interesting is that I had been working for an organisation that was putting together an app for young people. It was funded by the Scottish Government and NHS Scotland. It was called Ali Chat. And I was brought in to write the content for this app for young people's mental health, for everything from anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, how they could manage that. And one of the organisations got in touch with us was a hospice. And this hospice wanted to know how they could look after the staff better. So being an academic, I went and looked into the research and found quite a bit of literature around the problems that people experience when they work in the hospice. And one of the key things was compassion fatigue. So I researched that, compassion fatigue and burnout, and wrote a program for that. But it was never used by the organisation because of COVID. Everybody was kind of dispersed during COVID. But then NHS Fife got in touch and said, we are struggling, our staff are really burnt out, what can you do? And I said, I've got this in my bag. So I put this together and I delivered self-care to Homestart UK and then NHS Fife, hugely successful. And then there was a lot of change going on for NHS Fife. So I put together another course called Managing Change, which help people kind of really realise their innate qualities and potential, and the skills, qualities, values, and experiences that we often forget about, but which are really important for learning who we are and what we've got, and how we can take that to the next place. So since then, I've been offering these courses to private, public, and third sector of Scotland, and that's been really successful. Stella Mar recently asked me to come and work with them, so I did a bit of self-care workshop with them, and so is Circle, which works with families and children. So working right across the whole of the private, public, third sector of Scotland has been really fascinating, interesting. 2019, I was part of a team that put together Mindfulness Scotland, which was opened in the Scottish Parliament in September of 2019. Really successful, but unfortunately with COVID starting, we never got any further than offering MSPs drop-in sessions. We were hoping to offer MSPs mindfulness courses. So I've got quite a lot of experience of working across different sectors in Scotland. If you think there's something I can help you with, I'd be delighted to chat to you. So please get in touch.